What's going on, guys? It's Sam from HEAdesigns, and today we have the first of, hopefully, a nice series of kind of getting into design and design thinking and kind of what makes different designs different and, what to look out for when buying a cool knife and, the variations and what makes them cool. So, before I decided to do this, I didn't have any video equipment, but now we do. We got some nice stuff, and hopefully gonna do a really nice tabletop and go through different design themes that are gonna start with today, texture. So without any further ado, let's go down tabletopy. Oh yeah, well, OCD must be centered. What's going on? Now we're doing tabletopy. I got the white gloves because I've missed my last 13 manicure appointments and my hands look like Bigfoot. Cool. Today's episode is on texture. I have 3 questions that I want to tackle at some point in this video. God, every time I look at my notes to the left, the light's right in my eye. I'm not cut out for show business. Why to texture, when to use it, and how it can enhance or harm your overall design. Cool. So let's get some of these naffs off the table, and let's hop into La Texturo. So, why to texture? Well, one cool thing about texture is that when you're designing something, whether you like it or not, see if I can get in here and show you guys a little, that sexual micro texture. Anyway, when you're designing something, whether you like it or not, you're going to end up with a texture by the time you're done making it. So that's kind of cool that whether you like it or not, little action. Whether you like it or not, the finished product is going to have some sort of feel. And if you're a designer, it's on you to make sure that it feels nice. Very nice. I like. And if not, and you're buying knives, then you should be looking at texture as an indicator to see how much thought has been put into the final finished feel, as I like to call it, final finished feel. Now some things have smooth textures, as this beautiful book. It makes a snappy snappy. I like it snappy snappy. Oh, don't hurt me. Snappy snappy. Hold on, this one's even more snappy snappy. It's gotten the glove. Oh, the glove is a victim. Oh, yeah. Anyway, some knives are smooth, like the buck, and they kind of slip into the pocket and disappear, and that's kind of what you want out of a knife like this. Other knives, like El Dragonflio, which I love, Dragonfly in H1, has a little bit more of a rough texture, kind of grips your skin. Oh yeah. Ow. Fail. Double fail. Hard to flick with gloves. Particularly these manly cotton gloves. But yeah, Spyderco texture is gorgeous. Cool. So why the texture? Well, as a result of you designing something, it's going to have a texture. So it's nice when the person designing it thinks about it. Another good one. Frag patterned cadet. Oh yeah. This is nice. And this has a frag pattern, which looks like it would have a rough texture, but is actually super smooth. When to use it. So texture is something that, you want to make sure that you're thinking about when designing and when buying, particularly on the areas of the handle that you grab and on areas that need texture, like Mr. Jimping. Oh, that speed. And you got some jimping there. So these are areas that are considered functional texture. And functional texture is texture that has a funcciones. Oh yeah. So things like the flipper tab and the jimping on the back of the blade that lock you in are functional texture. Then there's aesthetic texture. So texture that's just pretty. Like, ooh, Mr. Satin, super smooth. And that's more aesthetic texture to give you a break visually between your grindy lines and your flats. And then you have things that are kind of like both, like the micro texture on the handles. Yeah. Get another one so you guys can see it up close. My hands are a little damp, so it might be messing with the anodization. Oh yeah. Ooh, angles. Oh, one of my favorite views of the wingman. Oh yeah. It's like a rocket ship. Okay. But yeah, that's when to use texture. How can it enhance or harm your overall design? Well, some knives have too much texture in the wrong places. Some places don't use any texture at all, and they don't provide enough grip when actually using them. But most knives do well with texture. They know when to make things smooth, like here on the backspacer. It's nice and super smooth. And then adding a little texture like the top of the clip so that when you're pulling it out of your pocket, it's easy to grab out. Yeah. Ooh, detent. Ooh. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So some knives, it can be a major selling point. So I got this Norseman from my main man's John a couple of years back, and one of the big reasons why I loved it so much is that it has this beautiful texture, faux bolster, and sunburst pattern. And it feels amazing. It's super smooth, but it provides such a gorgeous look. Oh yeah. I really love that. Even the stepped grind here, you can consider that to be a unique use of texture. Texture you have to be careful with because it has to make sense with your design. So here on the Sabertooth, we made sure that this whole area was really like soft and smooth because it's a comb. You don't want there to be any rough textures along here. So that's one thing to keep in mind when designing. And let's just do that one more time because it sounds so good. Oh, sounds so good. Oh yeah. I love the Sabertooth. Oh. But we went all out on the texture on the handle because It deserves it. It deserves the texture. Ooh, another one of my favorites. Lee Williams. Kershaw. Little textury texture on the flipper tab. Whew. So sleek. Now, this is an interesting look because these look like they're G10 and the texture is what makes you think it's like G10. But really, it's a type of nylon. And that's kind of cool that you can use texture as kind of a way to show like an ode to another material. So, for example, sometimes when people, ew, got my spit on the blade. When people heat treat or flame treat titanium, they can make it look like Timascus, which is technically like another material entirely. Other examples here on the poison. For this, I wanted to make sure that the outsides here were nice micro pattern and that the milled grooves were super smooth. That way it accentuates kind of the 3D effect of the scales. And didn't it come out so beautiful? But yeah, I really love this one. Oh yeah, some actions. Whew, that action. And even on a blade this small, I wanted to make sure that we did the satin flats, and I think it makes it. It gives it a cool light flares. Ooh, gotta move that one out of the ways a little bit. Cool. But yeah, you get that nice satin. Oh yeah, sweet. When I was first starting out in knives, one huge thing that I looked for was, you know, how something looked visually, because I didn't have any knife stores next to me, and I wanted to get an idea on kind of what the knife was like. So obviously, texture is something that can be sometimes misleading. So I used to think that these frag pattern Victorinoxes were super abrasive, singular. And it wasn't until I had one in hand that I noticed that it was actually super smooth, and I fell in love with it. And it's kind of cool that texture can be deceiving in that way sometimes. You can see something online and you're like, oh, I don't know if that's gonna be right for me, and then you get it in hand and oh yeah, it's super right for you. Like this knife. And what's really cool is that different materials lend themselves to different textures. So this is a hard analyzed. I analyzed this so hard. Hard anodized aluminum, and you can really make out a lot of details with aluminum that way while keeping it super, super thin, which I love. Take a look at that. Something I do notice a lot is with these slip joints that they usually use texture. They usually use very smooth texture. Sometimes you'll get like a jigged pattern, and that'll give you a little bit more tactility, but oftentimes a lot of these small slippies tend to be super smoothed out, which I like for a gentleman's knife. Oh yeah. Let me take out the one that's always the hardest to take out, this little guy. I don't know why the back spring on him. Well, I can't even do it with gloves on. Sadness surrounds us. But yeah, another thing, for example, the flipper tab here on the Sabertooth, I wanted to make sure that this knife, comb knife, didn't have any jimping on the flipper tab, because the flipper gave enough leverage that it didn't need it. So I thought that was pretty cool. There's also obviously no jimping up here because no one combs their hair that hard. So just little considerations like that. Things like where you have a lot of choice in like texture are right in this little spot right here. Now I like to, with HEAdesigns, I like to make sure that all the details are really dialed in. So for example, like right here where this finger is pointing, that's smooth, but it's indented. So it's not gonna hurt when you disengage, and at the same time, you're not gonna slip out of it. So things like that, where you can use like different shapes and angles to sidestep something that might have been super abrasive texture-wise. Ooh, I got my sweaty hands on it. Wipey, wipe, 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 wipe. Oh, a little bit better now. But yeah, I love the micro texture. This is something that we've been doing since the beginning of HEA, which I really, really enjoy. It gives you just enough tactility without making it too abrasive. Knives that I started off with were like were a lot of Spyderco's. So do a little close up of the Spyderco FRN. And this really locks your hand in, both in the jimping on the bottom of the blade, the top of the blade, and the handle. But yeah, you can get really, really good tactility even with gloves on with a pattern like this. And it's funny because even on a small knife, it works. It makes sense. And I appreciate certain decisions like having this area here smooth where you're disengaging because you're pressing down, so there's no need to have it jimped for left and right. So things like that are really good design decisions and things that you should look out for when making a purchasing of knives. Yeah, so on that note, I don't think there are any more stories I have to tell today on texture. So let's head back up. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did like it for real. Comment, subscribe, and suggestions of themes. If you guys have any suggestions that you'd like to see on the channel for the rest of this series, I have some ideas. Maybe you have some better ones. Put them in the comment section below. And if you have any suggestions on what you want to see from the HEA YouTube channel, also let me know. Just getting started. So if you guys have any awesome things that you'd like to see, I'll do them. Also, if you guys have any good examples of texture, so any knives that really exemplify it, or any products that really exemplify texture, put them in the comments section so people can geek out over it and have fun. If you like any of my knives and you'd like to support HEA, please head on over to HEAdesigns.com or check us out at any of our dealers. All the links will be down below, and I'm always available if you guys have any questions, so hit me up. Peace.